Hello, hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my co-host,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we're going to be reviewing potentially one of the most American movies, nay, global, worldwide movies that has ever come out of Hollywood, Independence Day, because 4th of July is coming up, so we want to do something a little fun and special for it. For those of you joining us for the first time, what we like to do is review movies. From there, we'll never spoil the movie within the first 5 minutes. But granted, if you haven't seen Independence Day since 1990, came out in 1996, first off, shame on you. Second off, make sure you watch it. And third off, yeah, so we'll never spoil the movie for you. We're going to give you a quick spoiler-free review while we start. Then we're going to give you some background on the movie, and then we'll give you an actual play-by-play of the movie. It's kind of like where we break everything down in our thoughts and opinions of it. But, Mike, you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
Spoiler-free review, 0 to 5. What do you got, sir?
I give this one a 4 right off the
Mhm.
bat. I think it is, like you said, it's a classic. Doing the research for this one, I was surprised to see that the Rotten Tomatoes score is as low as it is. Like, it's still considered fresh on
Hmm.
Rotten Tomatoes on both the audience and critic score, but I thought it would be higher. So I think even though this was a box office smash, I think it's more of a it is also one of those that's kind of a cult classic. Like, looking back at it now, I see some of the storylines were just like, oh, this is pointless, or like this is kind of foreshadowing to like what's going to happen later, but it really didn't have any weight in the overall story. But I think the performances were great. The story was pretty, straightforward. It didn't really try to like beat you over the head with anything. It was just like aliens come to attack, and as you would hope, the world forgets its problems, whether as far as like global politics, and really joins together to defeat a common enemy. This was, obviously Will Smith on his rise. It's like a year after Bad Boys and right before Men in Black, so he's on his rise to becoming Mr. Box Office, and it really shows. I mean, obviously we knew from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, both the show and his music career, that he just has charisma. He has that star power, and it really shows in this movie. Even when he wasn't in it, like I think you were excited to see like what was happening with his character. What's his name? Jeff Goldblum is. I mean, this is a reason he's a fucking national treasure. What's his name? Bill Pullman, obviously outside of Obama and maybe like Morgan Freeman, the best depictions of the president I've ever seen. But no, I think overall a great movie. Some of the obviously it was in the '90s, so some of the special effects don't hold. I don't know what it is about like explosions in movies in the '90s that just really don't don't translate to.
It's that green screen, man. It's like literally when
Yeah,
you're there and you're like, that is clearly green screen.
especially
It's
because
just
of the
there.
fact that like this one, and we've spoken at length about CGI, but like your Jurassic Parks, Star Wars, and stuff like that. That was practical effects.
Mhm.
When you see these explosions, I think they use like miniatures, I assume, for some of the explosions in this film, and it really shows. Like it really puts you in those moments.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I said, I think the story was fine, but I think it's propelled by the action, the actors, just the moment. And as you can see, we'll talk about later about the box office. This was like a smash. Like this did amazingly. Like it made 10 times its budget over during its full theatrical run. So yeah, all out great movie. It was like nice to revisit it. I haven't watched it in a while, not because I didn't want to. It just haven't. But watching it again today was just like, oh, I this is a classic, and it's nice to see that there's a lot of movies that just hold up, right? Especially with Disney and like so many companies doing remakes and stuff like that, kind of retelling some of your childhood. It's nice to see that the original films that a lot of this stuff, these remakes and sequels are based off of, still hold up to this day. So yeah, 4 out of 5. Would put it higher, but I was like, like I said, there was a few things that uh, didn't need to be in the film, but like
Mhm.
like what's his name, Will Smith's performance and Bill Pullman's speech right before in Act Three was
Oh,
just propelled this movie to kind of being iconic. So yeah, four
for
to
sure.
five.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie, it's iconic. It's so I will say, I agree with Mike. I also haven't seen this movie in a little while, but it's on TV all the time. Granted, not as much anymore. Um, but it used to be on TV all the time. So I've seen it a bunch when I was growing up. So watching it, it has been years. I was trying to watch it as unbiased as possible. So technically speaking, I think it's like a 3.5, technically
Oof.
speaking, because the plot's a little light at points. You don't really get a lot of character growth and development. It can be a little long, but what I'm gonna say is, fuck that shit. It's a 4. All right, this is motherfucking Independence Day.
I
God
think
damn
I
it.
agree with you. There's a lot of so this is another one there's a lot of characters and you
Hmm.
meet them and there's some like all right. So Will Smith's character Jeff Goldblum, the president. I guess
Yeah,
those are your main three, the big three
and then Russell's
protagonists.
pretty important.
No, see that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Russell, I think that's where they kind of wane, right?
Hmm.
Because of the fact that they kind of try to give him depth with his kids, but I feel
Hmm.
like he could have just had that picture and it would
Yeah.
have done the same amount of backstory that seeing his kids in the film did. So it was
Yeah.
just like I think they leaned into the other three, so your Will Smith, Bill Pullman, and Jeff Goldblum's characters, and
Yeah.
they did it fairly quickly because it was like in that first 10 minutes, you get
Hmm.
introduced to all three of those characters, and you kind of get to know their relationships. One's divorced, one's dating a girl that he plans to marry. Well, the president is
Remember,
obviously
let's
married.
not spoil anything too far yet. Let's not spoil
Sorry,
anything
sorry,
too
sorry,
far
sorry.
yet. No, you're
But it
good.
was like, yeah, you
Yeah.
get so much backstory from those three characters early
Mhm.
on, and then Russell's character, Randy Quaid. It was just like you got it. Yeah, I didn't need his kids because they were all wooden, terrible
Yes.
actors.
Yeah. So with
Like I
that
said,
said,
they gave just as much backstory in the photo that
mhm.
those actual actors did.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, you were
No
saying.
worries, yeah. But yeah, so because there definitely are some flaws in this movie for sure, but at the same time, like it's a blockbuster hit that's fun. Man, it's fun to watch after so long. Like, and granted, again, there could be some potential bias from this as well, but there are so many like iconic lines in this movie, like and
Hmm.
little things that I forgot. I'm just like I still say, and I'm like, oh, that's right, it did come from this movie. Like,
Hmm.
it's such a good movie. I love Independence Day. It's awesome. It is not without its flaws. So, from my unbiased opinion, I guess a 3.5. Or well, I can't be fully unbiased, but trying to be as unbiased as possible. Going in like, this is a movie I'm seeing for the first time in theaters, like a 3.5, because it's still a solid. And then again, a 3.5 is a solid movie. But in general, dude, it's Independence Day. It's a 4. It's a 4 out of 5 for sure. I can't give it a 4.5 because again, a 4.5 it just is like that's as high of a score as I can really give. And the 4.5 is just really, really, really good movies. But Independence Day is a 4. I love this movie. It's great. It was great to watch it, and I think it should kind of be like a tradition for most households. Watch this on the 4th of July, all right? Because we got to fight some aliens, damn it. And when they come in here, all right, kick ass and take names, and we come together as a planet, as a fucking planet, all right? All these little differences we have going on, get them out of here. There's shit to do, and that's kill aliens. But yeah, so Mike giving it a 4, me giving it a 4. Definitely go see this movie if you haven't seen it. I think it's on Amazon for $5 right now. You can get it. I'm sure there's other ways to get it too, but honestly, since I didn't own it and I needed to watch it, I was like, it was rents from Amazon for 380 or buy for 5. I'm like, that's the easiest decision I've ever made in my life. Like, but yeah. So now we're still not spoiling anything yet, besides whatever Mike did earlier. But no. So let's get some background. Mike kind of alluded to this earlier, but apparently this movie did pretty well in 1996. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, so Independence Day came out on July 3rd, 1996. A solid day to come out. I see what they were doing. Um, sorry, the runtime was 2 hours and 25 minutes, and I agree. There were parts where it was just like, it didn't need to be this long. You could have cut out a smooth 15, 20
Hmm.
and had the same effect. The budget was 75 million. The box office was 817 million. So, like I said, a box office
Yeah.
smash. The Rotten Tomatoes, like I was saying, it's a 68 for the audience, 75 for,
Oh yeah,
sorry,
68 for
68 for
the audience.
critics,
Uh-huh.
75 for audience.
It's still only a 75 for
Yeah,
audience.
that's what I'm saying. It was just like so it's still fresh on
Hmm.
both scales, but it was like I
Yeah.
thought it might be a little bit higher. But I think
Uh-huh.
critics will once again we're based it on nostalgia, and so there's a little bit of bias there. But I think critics saw okay, there's flaws in some of this exexecution in the story and stuff like that.
USA. USA, USA.
I think it's EARTH.
I
Just
mean,
write it off.
that's EARTH, EARTH.
The genre is action adventure sci-fi. Director Roland Emmerich, sorry, apologize. Who went on to do The Patriot, 2012, White House Down, Godzilla 2000, Moonfall. So I did notice, so like as I was doing the research, so he only has two films like considered fresh
Okay.
in his filmography, and that is Independence Day and The Patriot. Everything else is like rotten.
Yeah, it's old 2012. So this is a disaster movie. You know, like
I
Independence Day.
think so. This is the start. I think this was the start of his.
Mhm.
Okay, if I see a city or a landmark being held together, let's get that shit out of here.
He's just knocking it all over.
Golden Gate Bridge, pass. White House, pass. Like
He doesned like standing buildings. All
I,
right.
was, I don't know what he has against construction or architecture. I don't know what it is.
We'll see.
Some kid kicked his sandcastle back in like 1975, and it still hurts.
That's what I was going to. Literally, he used to be a worldwide artiste of sandcastle building. All right, so he'd go to beaches and build them, and then mean kids would pick on him and then break it down. So then, as a way to cope with it, he decided he wanted to break the buildings first.
Because Jesus Christ. But yeah, so only two films, that are actually fresh in his filmography. And then, okay, this stars Will Smith as Stephen Hiller. And like I said earlier, Captain, sorry, I apologize. I only had enough space to write names, one name. Like I said earlier, this was on his rise. So like the year before, he had done Bad Boys with Martin Lawrence, directed by Michael Bay. Then he did this in '96. In '97, you have the smash hit Men in Black.
Yeah.
With God damn it,
Tommy Lee
Barry
Jones.
Sonnenfeld. Barry Sonnenfeld, sorry,
Yeah.
the director. So yeah, this is him on his rise. Of course,
I would say even more. This might even be like kind of peak. You know, like it's like not like peak, but like this is like prime.
well, I think Men in Black was the peak, and then because
Yeah.
right after he does Wild Wild West.
Okay. So I'm just gonna say Will Smith in his prime, not his peak, but yeah, this
Yeah.
is like in his prime, going in there and like being awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, Will Smith as Captain Stephen Hiller. You have Randy Quaid as Russell, Bill Pullman as President Whitmore, Jeff Goldblum as David, Mary McDonald as Marilyn Whitmore, Judd Hirsch as Julius, David's father. Robert Loggia, I think he was the General Gray, I believe.
Okay.
Margaret Collin as Constance or Connie, that was David's ex-wife. James Rebhorn as Albert, I think that was the Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
Vivica A. Fox as Jasmine, and Harvey Firestein as Marty. I was one of David's co-workers or his boss or something like that.
Oh yeah, the one with the super raspy voice.
Yeah.
He was like really big and like around this time, and I think even
Yeah,
before.
I just remember him from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yep. Yeah.
And then the tagline, which might be one of the longest taglines I've ever seen. It was, "We've always believed we weren't alone. On July 4th, we'll wish we were." I was like, God damn it.
That's
Pull quote. But, I mean, it's not, without its merit, it doesn't make sense. And that's the background that I have, sorry.
beautiful, awesome. So that's Independence Day, and yeah, like Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum around this time, because Jurassic Park was like 3 years before this, I think, as well. You know, it's Jeff Goldblum being the prime specimen that he is. Will Smith really priming it up as well, and yeah, like I agree. Pullman, right? Yeah, Pullman was the president, and he is, yeah, truly like what a great president. You know, like what a great portrayal of a president. So yeah, great. So before we hop into our play-by-play of everything, a quick word from our sponsors / shout-outs of stuff that's happening. Mike, first and foremost, did you do all of your push-ups? Sorry,
I came 100 short. I did,
Okay.
like, it was like, I did my best. Like, there was a few days, like, since I was traveling, I couldn't meet my mark on 2 days. So I think I was about 100 push-ups short, but everything else was fine. Like, I tried to make it. I mean, it was nice. It was just it was a lot of motivation from like the team that I was on, and like certain people from online. So it was a nice little a nice little charity thing to do for this
what
month.
was the charity one more time?
It was push-ups Push for Better. I apologize. Yeah, Push for Better. The push-up challenge. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So definitely push for better. I mean, like it's mental health support. We are very, I'm a very fervent believer in mental health. So definitely love that Mike was doing that. I was a bum and I didn't join with him, but I'm glad at least one half of the meddling kids is a good person. From there, what else we got? Yeah, comic. Thank you so much for anyone that may have listened and participated in the Kickstarter campaign. It was a success. Basically, the comic's almost completely done. I will start plugging. I'll have it up for free for people to read coming up here soon too online. Just to that way you can read it and check it out, so you can be like, hey, this guy actually is semi maybe talented. I don't know, but yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And from there, as always, still remember I'm a real estate agent. So my team is the Just Be team on Compass. We work in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you have if you want any advice or need contractors, handymen, lenders, feel free to reach out anytime, and I can support you in that. And also, even if you're not in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, don't worry, Compass is nationwide. So even if you're in, say, Nevada, because a lot of this movie happens in Nevada, you need a real estate agent, we can find you a phenomenal one out there as well. But now we're going to start getting into our play-by-play, where there will be a few spoilers. So if you want to hop off now, totally fine. Watch the movie, then just make sure you come back. Or hey, come hang out. All right, how does this movie start? All right, so aliens normally come from the sea, I found, right? That's really...
I feel like you joke, but let's not. We do not know a lot about the ocean.
It's true. It gets very deep. Yeah.
Do not joke. Um, but yeah, so this movie starts with a shot of the American flag planted on the moon with the '69, moon landing. And I think you see like a shadow over the moon, and then some voiceover about peace and how like the whole purpose of that of the moon expedition exploration was to just foster peace with that, not just on Earth but throughout the universe or something like throughout the planets.
No, it was to beat the Russians, for the record, but yes, absolutely.
So what's up, next guy? But so you hear this, and I think it does zoom into a shot. There's like a plaque also on the moon. And they zoomed in on the word peace. So this whole thing about like humans wanting peace, and then as you're seeing this, there's a shadow over the moon, and this huge mothership of an alien like approaching Earth.
Yeah. Quick question. Sorry, just before. So with that, Mike, do you think they reused the same footage that they shot from when they faked the moon landing, or do you think they like made new fake moon landing footage for this? I'm just curious.
I feel like, it costs $75 million, so they're cutting corners somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's for sure.
Well, they're not gonna take a ship up to the moon just for like 6 seconds of work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. For the record, the meddling kids do not think the moon landing was fake. All right.
Everybody's so sensitive these days.
Sure. The Earth is flat, though. That's for sure.
That's indisputable evidence right there. Somewhere on Earth, I can't remember where. It's not really that important. It's a quick shot, but there's this research the site receives a signal from the alien ship. So like everybody wakes up, they're super excited. They get the Pentagon on the phone, who then gets the Secretary of Defense, and it's just like the chain of command, letting people know that we've made contact with extraterrestrial life. And then right before the president is told, because like I said, the Pentagon just told the Secretary of Defense. We meet the president, played by Bill Pullman, and he gets a call from his wife, who is traveling as a first lady, doing her duties. And this is what I was saying. It was like immediately from the main three protagonists, you get backstory, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, and it's very quick. It was just like his wife calls him. He asks her like, "What time is it there?" She says 2 a.m. And this is like a quick, like, they're married, and obviously you could tell they're in love. She goes, I know, I didn't wake you up. And he was like, yes, you did. And it was like, you liar, and something. Yeah. So it's just like, this is what I love about like either performances or writing, or just a marriage of both, where it's just like, you're able to give so much backstory in a character within seconds. Yes. Like you didn't need to have this whole thing. It was like, I've been married to you for X amount of years. No, it was just like those quick moments that just show that there's chemistry, there's history between these characters. He gets off the phone because his daughter was laying next to him, and you get a sweet moment with her. She was like, "Daddy, let me watch something." I can't remember what it was.
Mhm.
Something that she wasn't supposed to be watching because she's about like 6 years old or something like that. And he looks at her and says, "Tattletale" or something like
Yeah.
that. And it was like once again, it's giving you this backstory on these characters within less than a minute. Um, and then he goes out. You meet Connie, his I think liaison
Press
of some
secretary.
sort. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Um, and they're going over the fact that his approval ratings are down.
Mhm.
You get more backstory on him. He was a fighter pilot in the Gulf War,
Yeah.
and kind of that's why that he got elected. But since then, like since because he's no longer young. Now, I don't. First of all, I assume he had 2 terms or something like because saying it was like he came in, he was young, and now he's like they see him as an old man. So I'm like,
Yeah.
unless he had 14 terms, I don't.
Well, yeah, I think it's because like he came in fresh from like being the pilot in the Gulf War, so everyone's like, oh, he's like this guy who won't take crap and everything. And then
Mhm.
unfortunately, he now has to play politics and play nice in
Yeah.
Congress and ask
So
permission.
yeah,
So
they're
yeah,
making comments about the fact that when he came in, he was like kind of this hot shot guy, but the the chess game that is U.S. politics really slowed him down. So
Mhm.
a lot of his initiatives aren't going through, and he's not really fighting for them. Not because he doesn't want to, but because he really just can't within the system.
Yeah,
Um, so you get that kind of backstory, and I think that that's a little bit of foreshadowing, and that's why his speech later on really hits home.
hmm
And then he gets alerted about the signal from the Secretary of Defense, and then we jump to meeting another protagonist in this film, David, and
hmm
he's in a park playing chess with his father. You get some backstory about him. He like went to MIT, and then instead of doing not I guess not great things or what you would expect from an MIT grad who was obviously very smart. He's just installing cable and stuff like that. He's been divorced for 3 years. He
hmm
still wears his wedding ring, so there's some, um, he's still holding on to like that relationship with his ex-wife. And then after he beats his dad at chess, he goes and plays. He goes to work, and he's this environmentalist. He's big on recycling and not
hmm
smoking. He doesn't have a car. He rides his bike everywhere, and wherever he works, I don't know where he worked, but there
Somewhere
was
in the
like it was something to do with satellites because the office is freaking out because obviously since the mothership has entered the Earth's atmosphere, there's a bunch of satellites that have been disrupted,
hmm
and the aliens are sending down a signal through through the satellites, but most humans don't know that. There's a disruption,
yeah,
and so David kind of notices this, and he looks at it, and he's studying, and he's fascinated by it. Um, and then, sorry, one second. Oh, oh yeah. And then quickly we jump to Russell. I guess our third
Mhm.
protagonist. But like I said, I don't think they just did his backstory as much justice as
yeah,
the other three. But yeah, so you meet his kids. He has 3 children: an older son, a younger, middle daughter, and then a younger son who's sick. This guy, their dad Russell is used to be well, I guess a fighter pilot in
Nam.
Vietnam or something.
Yep, yeah,
Yeah,
he was a pilot in Nam. Yeah.
yeah. And then since then he's been crop dusting.
hmm
And so one of the farmers or whatever comes and it was like, "Where's your dad? He had, my crops are dying because
hmm
he hasn't, he crop dusted my field." And then the son goes out to find him. And is like, "You idiot! You crop dusted the wrong field." And you see, he's very drunk. I think
Yeah.
he's always perpetually drunk for the most part, kind of a screw up. And you
hmm
see that his kids, especially the eldest son, is the parent in the scenario, not only taking care of his younger siblings but also his dad.
hmm
And then we see from the mothership, like I guess warships deployed to the Earth, right? And then this is when I think one second. The White House is alerting people as to what's happening because now they can see like these ships entering the Earth's atmosphere. They're going like there's certain ones going to like the major cities, so New York, Los Angeles, Washington D.C., like different spots overseas as well. So like the White House is keeping the people alert of the situation. And sorry,
So like with that too, I'm just saying like just why I'm not chiming in a lot. It's like from the beginning of this movie, it's just like bang, bang, bang,
boom,
bang, bang.
boom, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's like and I completely agree that like it's great to see like everything that Jeff Goldblum's character is doing is like he's not smoking, he's anti-smoking, always recycling, everything, but he's not like preaching at it necessarily, but he's just like making sure he does this, or like he pulls a character, he's like, what is this? What is this? And the dude threw a tin can into a trash can versus a recycling can. And then same with like Randy Quaid's character Russell, you see like he's a goober, he's a goober, he's drinking and like there's stuff weird, but it's just like quick flow of action going through everything, even though this is like 10-15 minutes of exposition technically, but it's setup and it's how these characters are going, and it's a very fun way to start for sure.
It's a rapid pace, but it was like you do get to know these characters. Like it's not because it was like they obviously they're 3-dimensional, but it doesn't need I don't need 20 minutes of you building these dimensions, right? So that right before we meet Captain Hiller, Will Smith's character, we jump back to Russell, and he's at a diner or something like that, and we get this background about how he's been claiming that he was abducted by aliens. So like you get these other farmers or crop dusters or whatever it is, truckers, they're making fun of him for these stories he would tell when he was drunk about being abducted by aliens, and he's got really ashamed, like trying to defend himself, but he's too drunk to actually do that. And then then we meet Captain Hiller because there's like earthquakes over Los Angeles, because one of the ships is entering over the city.
Because like the big mothership, like 15 little ships spit out too, and all those are getting in place, and those are like causing some earthquakes. And it's funny because like I bet it's a great introduction to Captain Hiller, Will Smith's character, is like you've seen these ships. There was even like a couple people died because they tried to like explore and check it out, and they got like engulfed by fire, I think, by this. And there's some like earthquakes, and then like you have this tension that's been built from everyone else knowing what the hell's going on, and then Will Smith's character, Captain Hiller, is like, dude, it's way too early for this, because he's also California, so he's on California time 3 hours earlier, and he's like, I ain't got time for this. I'm just trying to sleep with like my hot girlfriend. And then so it is like a funny break almost in this tension.
So then we David, once again, he's tracking the signal that's been projected through the satellites, and he realizes that it's a countdown of some sort, like because now they know that it's aliens. They've seen the ships enter the atmosphere, so they know that it's aliens, and he noticed that it's a countdown of some sort, and he's like, well, counting down to what? And he was like, exactly. And so Whitmore addresses the nation, because now these ships they've stopped traveling and they've hovered over these cities, and they're literally city-sized ships, like kind of like blacking out the skies and everything like that. And then we meet, and then we finally get a proper introduction of Captain Hiller. Like he wakes up, his girlfriend's son was like outside, and he says, "What are you doing, man?" And he was, "I'm shooting aliens." He was, "Oh, you shooting aliens?" And they have this playful banter back and forth. And then he goes outside to get the paper, and he looks up, and he finally sees the spaceship, and he's like, "What the hell?" So like you learn that he's in the Air Force, and he gets called in. The president once again addresses the nation. His girlfriend, who is a dancer, an exotic dancer, she goes to work, and one of her coworkers was saying how like people were going up to the flying saucer to party or whatever, because it's kind of just the end of the world thing. It's like you said, it's a whole bunch of not exposition, but a lot's happening in the first like 15 to 20 minutes. So Dave,
the fact that Jessica, her name is Jessica, right? Jasmine. Yeah, sorry. The fact that Jasmine, there's a spaceship going, but she's like, I mean, I still have my shift at the strip club. Not saying Michael goes to strip clubs or I go to strip clubs a lot, but like if the world was ending, if there's an alien spaceship in the sky, you think you'd go to a strip club real quick?
I gotta spend these ones, man. Come on.
Well, fuck, I have 51s in my pocket. I might as well. Fucking throw him. Oh.
She goes to work, and like she leaves because they're like you see panic in the city, even though the president has addressed the nation or whatever, but there's panic in the streets. Like people are trying to flee the cities because like we've said before, the ships are hovering over the major cities. So they're trying to get out of the major cities because they don't know what's going to happen. David has convinced his dad to drive him to DC. I don't know where they were I assume New York, maybe.
Yeah, they were in New York. That's like a 4 or 5 hour drive. Yeah.
Yeah. So he convinces his dad to drive him to DC because since he's an environmentalist, he doesn't have a car, he doesn't have a license.
And
So
we
his
also
dad
see
drives.
that he does have a relationship with Connie, right? Like I said.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So it's just
Yeah.
like, as the president was addressing the nation, David calls Connie, trying to tell her about what he's found with the signal. So you find out that she's the ex-wife, she's his ex-wife, and so he's trying to get to the White House to warn the president, everybody there, because there's a ship hovering over DC as well, that they need to get out of DC because of the countdown. And then we find a little backstory. It was like David thought that Connie was cheating on him with the president before he was actually the president.
Yeah.
And so they got into a fight. So they don't necessarily like one another.
I know, but his dad is like this older Jewish gentleman, and he does kind of fall into some like the older Jewish gentleman like stereotypes. Like with like him being kind of like a little curmudgeon-y at times. But like he's just like, you punch the president, and like he's a great like humor character in this as well with like the things he's saying and doing. So yeah, it was just a very funny scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
There was one thing.
I mentioned this too, just because it was, I think, before when the president addressed the nation and said, "Hey, if you are going to leave the cities, please do so in an orderly fashion." And then it immediately cuts to just panicking chaos.
Just the LA riots, like
So even with all the action and everything, it does a great job of like intercutting this little bit of humor, which just makes you chuckle in a good way, while because it's like tension build, ha ha ha, tension build, and then keep going.
Talking about the comedy, there was one scene as they go back to LA because that's where Will Smith's character is. The news guy says it was like, just if you people could stop shooting at the aircrafts, and then it mentions that it's like Compton in LA. All right, we get it, okay, we get it. So yeah, David. Oh, sorry. Like I said, it's happening super fast. We're trying to get to the main part. So Jasmine goes to work. She leaves with her son and the dog to exit the city. You see that Captain Hiller has reported to base, even though they gave him off. But obviously, this is an emergency situation, and he gets to work. And there's a piece of mail from NASA. Obviously, he wants to be an astronaut. Sorry, but his application has been rejected. So that's a little more background on him. Excuse me.
And you also see that he wants to propose to Jasmine as well.
Yes. Yeah. And then so David they get to the White House. They get to DC, and David uses his hacking skills to find Connie's cell phone number. This let me 10 seconds. But so there's a cute moment where it's just like she doesn't have a landline phone, but she puts her cell phone in the system for emergencies, but he can't find her. And then his dad mentions is like, we'll check Connie Levin. I think his last name is Levinson or something like that. And he checks that. He was like, no, she didn't take my last name, or she got rid of my last name when we got divorced. But that's how he finds her. She still has his last name. So he calls her and convinces her to let him talk to the president. He talks to the president. You get this kind of tense exchange between them because obviously the last time they saw one another they were fighting, but he convinces them that they need to get out of the White House because the countdown is ticking and we don't know what's happening, but it definitely seems like they're going to attack. The ship
now at this point in time. That's what it's like 27 minutes. Yeah.
And so as the clock is ticking down, they send, I think, helicopters to go communicate with the ships, and then they just the ships get annihilated. The other ships just shoot a beam down to the cities and just destroy all the cities. So I think, like you said, there was about 10 to 15 ships throughout both the United States and just all over the world, and they just take out major cities in the world, and this is where you get the iconic scene of the White House being blown up because
Yep.
Roland Emmerich, once again,
Yeah.
any landmark you like, he doesn't.
He's blown up the
So,
White House multiple times. He's had
mhm.
multiple White House explosions. And I will say, I'm going to sound curmudgeon-y with this, I suppose, but Jasmine's stripper friend who was going on like the ceiling with the, oh, aliens, we love you, welcome.
Yeah,
All of those people deserved what was coming to them. Every
of
single
course.
one. Because if you're going to be dumb enough, in my opinion, to like be like, hey, let's just, no, screw that. All right. That was, you deserve to get beamed in the face because you're
I
on.
think talking about that too. So it's like as the cities are being destroyed, you see Marty gets burned up. He's in his car trying to leave the city.
Yeah, that was sad. Marty didn't deserve that with his
Yeah,
mad
Marty
divorce.
dies, and then it was just like Jasmine, her son, and the dog are in like I guess some tunnel
Yeah.
in LA, and like this is when I learned that fires don't go through doors. That's just
Nope.
science.
Mm-mm, it's
So in the tunnel, she gets out of the car, and she kicks down I guess this service closet or something that's there.
Yeah, the
She kicks
maintenance
down the
guy
door.
marks it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then she calls the dog, and the dog, just being the action hero that he is, just jumps into the
Slow
jumps into the
motion,
closet
jumping from car to
right before the
car.
fire comes, and then
Yep.
but it's just mass destruction. It was, I think, this was really cool. I think
Yeah.
it wasn't CGI heavy. I think it was like I said, models or something like that. So it was like it really put you into those cities as the destruction was happening. It was really great. Um, and then the next day is July 3rd. You see just mass destruction in New York and LA, DC, I think India,
Yeah.
all these different places. There's major cities just left in ruin. And then immediately the Air Force, I think you see our main characters have survived. So like the president, Jasmine, I think Russell and his family had gotten out and everything like that. And then you see Captain Hiller and the Air Force just immediately trying to mount a counterattack.
Yeah.
And so the Air Force, they mount up, they go to attack I think one of the ships that's hovering over the cities, and then they just immediately get hit with well, they shoot rockets at the ship, but it has a shield, and then immediately the shield doesn't come down, but like these tinier ships come out of the warship, and you just get a dogfight between the Air Force and the aliens. It's just mass chaos.
Yeah.
But it was like this was just a great scene after the scene of destruction of all
Yeah.
the cities. Like the dogfight between Will Smith and the Air Force against the aliens was just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it did it well. It was it gave me Star Wars a bit. Some of the not CGI, but some of the effects. It was very much
sure.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where it was like you get to know a character really briefly, and then they're blowing up. Like
Yeah. Yeah, like Will Smith's friend, who he did have a couple good moments with Will Smith, while going
yeah.
through, and they were together. So like everyone else getting blown up, they run away, and unfortunately he gets taken out, and you're like, ah, man, damn. But it's funny.
but
I will say, he takes off his mask. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So he takes off his oxygen mask thing. No. He wanted his death scene. No. That man he was an actor, and he got a death scene. And the good death scenes mean you don't have to wear a mask when you die. That's Hollywood, baby. Yeah.
So we're learning thing one:
Yeah.
fire doesn't go through doors. We know. Okay, write it down.
Yeah.
And if you can't breathe, take off the contraption that's helping you breathe. It's just-
Exactly. Yeah.
and so the Air Force takes heavy damage because it was like immediately when they fired at the ship and the shield, they saw that it had a shield. They were like, all right, you guys got to get out of there.
Yeah.
But the aliens retaliated immediately. Hiller and his friend try to escape, but his friend once again can't breathe. So because he tries to do some maneuver, and it fails, and then he gets shot down. Hiller takes out one ship, and then he uses some quick thinking, takes out the other one, but it doesn't explode. He's able to, and this was I think once again this is Will Smith being Will Smith. And it was just like so he. Using a quick maneuver, he makes the alien ship crash, and then he sees that it crashes. And he's like, "That's what you get." That's what you get. And then it was just like he has like a parachute on and is holding him back, and he was like, "Get off me!" And it was just like it was just so funny. It was like obviously you feel triumphant in that moment too. It was just like,
because he's like, give me another ship. I'm gonna line up you with all your friends. Oh man,
Yeah.
Dude,
and then he once again talking about this movie being so quotable. He goes to the ship, it opens up, the alien jumps out of the fog, and he just punches it in the face and goes, "Welcome to Earth." And I was just like, "Yup, that's exactly how I'm talking to any alien that comes through. Welcome
now,
to
that's what I
Earth."
call a close encounter, right? Like, that's the line. Oh, such a good line.
And he said that for no one in
For
particular.
himself. And then he smokes a cigar. And then he smokes a damn cigar afterwards.
So then we get the I think the president, David, Connie, all his team, and his David's dad. I think they were able to escape the White House before the destruction, and now they're like they've seen what happened with the Air Force, and they're like trying to figure out what they can do. And then this is what you're talking about. David's dad, I think that's Judd Hurst, being like the old curmudgeon and stuff like that. He was like, "What about the Area 51?" He was like, "There was aliens that crash landed or something like that, Roswell, and yada yada yada." And
I think around this time too, like he had that talk with Connie, and this happened a little bit before, and just with him being like that type of character. It was what was it? He was like, "Oh well, I think there's still some love there in the relationship with Connie and Jeff Goldblum's character." And then she was like, "Yeah, but that wasn't enough." And he's like, "No, love's all you need." John Lennon was a very smart man, and then he got shot in the back of the head. And I was like, "What the fuck?"
I think there was a lot of improv, and it was just like, "Come on, guys, we gotta wrap this up. What are we doing?" And so he mentions Area 51, and the president is trying to like calm him down and be like, "Sir, that those are just rumors." And then we have the Secretary of Defense going, "Well, that's not exactly true." And then we found out that Sorry.
I was just saying, with this, we've steadily found out as the movie's gone on, the Secretary of Defense was Nimziki, I think. Or it was like, I think it's Nimziki.
His name was some Alberts. I didn't get the last name, but something Nimziki is Niz something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and because they called him Nimziki a few times, and I was like, you steadily get. He's a dick. Like this whole time you're like, he's kind of slimy. He's the one being like, we gotta nuke them all. He's the one calling for these moves that are like, those aren't the right moves, sir. But yeah. So that's what Nimziki, as Mike said, is like, well, actually, sir, there might be an area. Yeah.
Yeah. So we found out that Area 51 exists. Then we jump to Jasmine. She survived the attack in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And she has a truck, and she's just collecting survivors.
She found a truck. She's plowing through other cars and everything, and found a bunch of survivors. Jasmine knows what's up. Jasmine is just like, she's like, yep, this is a normal day for me. Whatever, I'm keeping it moving. Yeah. And
then she finds one of the people she does find is Marilyn, the president's wife. And then I think they're heading back to El Toro, their hometown. Excuse me. But I think because that was the base where Hiller was.
Yeah.
And then we get another scene with Will Smith where he's using the parachute to drag the alien body through the desert. And he's just talking shit to
the whole time, just talking shit to this alien.
He was like, "I'm supposed to be motherfucking barbecuing, you bitch ass. You and your boys had to come through."
And it's funny because too, when I saw this, I was like, "How the hell is the alien staying unconscious this whole time?" That's because every now and then Will Smith will go and just start kicking the crap out of that alien. And I'm like, "Oh, that's how it's staying unconscious." Okay.
It also doesn't make sense because we found out that's an exoskeleton.
Yeah,
so that's like you hitting me in the helmet.
The biomechanical suit, and you're like, but hey, whatever.
And then so as he's dragging the alien through the alien through the desert, he gets picked up by Russell and his family because there's just a caravan of people from I think Arizona or something like that.
Yeah.
That were fleeing.
Or Nevada.
Well, like you said, they're in Nevada, I believe, but it was just like I think they were coming from some city. So he gets picked up by Russell. And then we get, and he mentions that he saw I guess an air base or something or military base when he was flying, fighting the aliens.
Yeah.
So that's where they're headed. Then we get the president and his team, all the people that are with him. They go to Area 51, and they did a quick crash course when it was like, oh yeah, the aliens landed in 1960s or something like that. And so we get introduced to the scientist. I wish I would have written his name down. Because he was super excited. You can tell he was one of those one kind of conspiracy theorists that was proven right. Doesn't get too much sun.
Oh yeah.
So we find out
Brackish Okun.
There we go.
Dr. Okun. Yeah. Just check it real quick. Yeah.
And so Okun is telling them about the ship that crash landed back in I think back in like 60 something
or 50s or 60s. Yeah.
Sorry, sorry. But so the ship crash landed. They haven't been able to do much with it because the alien technology is too advanced. They can't even power it on because the energy, whatever energy source they use, they can't replicate it. But they did notice that as the aliens returned, when the mothership returned, a lot of the gizmos started beeping and stuff like that. So just like it's obviously, I think it was hinting at this kind of hive mind, which I think is usually, I don't know if Emmerich started it, but it's very much like a lot of humans just assume that all aliens are based on like bees or something like that, where it's just like this hive mind. You take out the queen, you take out the workers and stuff like that. So we see the ship, and then they show them that there was three. The ship had three, I guess, passengers on it. It can hold up to three passengers, and so they show them that they've kept these the corpses basically of the aliens. Two of them had died on impact, and then another one a few weeks later. So like they're not indestructible. They do have like this exosuit or whatever, like you were saying, but their actual makeup is very. They're just as fragile as human beings outside of the suits. They don't have any mouths, so they use a different way to communicate. And then I think right then you do see that Will Smith arrives with Russell and his family and the rest of the caravan. And Will Smith goes up. God damn it, Will Smith was amazing. He goes up to the front gate and he was just like, "Sir, the guy says this is a restricted area." He was like, "Where's your clearance?" And he was just like, he just uncovers the alien. He's like, "That's my clearance."
Yeah.
You wouldn't should I leave this here with y'all?
Yeah, man. Oh god, Will Smith is just so good in this. Like the '90s Will Smith, man, is just, it's peak. Yeah.
And so now at Area 51, they have, because the alien is still alive, like you said, it's just knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
But they now have a live specimen for them to actually experiment on. David is he's working with the scientists as well, since he was the one able to decipher the signal. He's working with the scientists to kind of work on the ship as well. Now that it's functioning, they have somebody that is kind of knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
So David's working with them. The scientist, what did you say his name was?
Okun?
Something.
I could be wrong, but it's spelled Okun, so I'm going with Okun.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okun is now they're doing surgery on the alien that Will Smith brought, and then Hiller asked the general if he could get kind of transport to El Toro to try to go find Jasmine and her son, and the general lets him know that El Toro was kind of destroyed. And you see Will Smith kind of just truly distraught. He's just lost everything. He lost his best friend. He lost, the woman he loved and her son, and in his entire home. So he's kind of distraught. And then they also noticed that I think right before the surgery of the alien, they're noticing how the aliens attacked. He was like talking about they were using our satellites this whole time to really learn about us. That's why they attacked the cities that they attacked, because they knew that they could immobilize us this way. And then that's the initial attack, and then they can finish the invasion and stuff like that. And as the doctors operate on the alien, you see that this is it was one, oh my God, I remember this vividly when I was a kid. I was already terrified of aliens because once again, you fear the unknown. But like just the dissection scene, it was this movie and fucking E.T. with dissection. It was just like hard pass.
Yeah. From this movie sticking out, I totally agree. It's like these two scenes. It's Will Smith punching the alien. It's like it plays on my mind in repeat. You know what I mean? Like from growing up, from seeing it, and this dissection scene. And there's one more scene in particular, but yeah, those two, the dissection scene. It's all of a sudden this movie is now a horror movie, right? All of a sudden,
a bit. It didn't go over the top, but it was right there. And so, like the scientists are dissecting. So you see them cut straight down the skull of the exosuit, and it just pops open because once again, it's just a suit that these aliens are wearing. They are very fragile, but their suits are where they get their power from.
Yeah. But
and then he's like,
once it gets knocked out, so there's that. That goes for it.
Just rattles his brain a bit. And so he does some more digging within the suit, and you find the alien in there.
Yeah.
And one of the doctors notices that the hand is moving from the alien, but it's too late. The alien wakes up and it just starts just killing everyone in the room.
Yeah.
And this is when the president finds out, after they realize the strategic attacks of the aliens. The president is like, I want to see the dissection. And they go down there. The lab is like encased in, it's like a glass, walls around the lab. And there's just nothing but smoke in the room. And then This is what, like you said, it's a horror movie, like, very much like Alien. I'll give it. What it was just like the doctor just kind of like out of the smoke, he just jumps at the window, and you just hear him say, "Release me."
Mm-hmm.
And so like they're like, "Get him out of there, get him out of there!" But somebody notices that there's something around his neck, and it's the tentacles from the alien. And this is one of the like you said, one of the dopest scenes. It was like the smoke clears, and the alien is half in the suit, half out of it, since it was cut in half.
Yeah.
And it was like, I feel like you don't give some of these the creators or like these creatures in different films. I probably yeah, so like your xenomorphs, obviously like the predator, and like just these different, and now this one, and but it was just like it looked terrifying. Even though, like, once again, couldn't talk, but it was like clearly powerful, and it was just like it has a tentacle around the neck of the doctor, and he was saying, "Just release me, let me out, let me out."
Yeah, he was using his
using the doctor to speak.
Yeah.
And the president, trying to be diplomatic, was like, "Is there any way for us to coexist? Is there any way to have peace?" Right? He keeps preaching. Like, this whole movie was preaching about peace.
No peace.
Yeah.
No peace. It sounds something like that. Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, they don't want peace. And then he was like, "What do you want us to do?" And he was like, "Die." Basically.
What a good scene. What a good scene from that. Yeah.
And then the alien kind of attacks, since they're basically telepathic, and he attacks the president, and he just shows him a vision of what they want. Yeah. And it's basically they kill they basically cripple the planet to the point where it's just like that nobody can attack them. They drain it of its resources, and then they just go about their way. Yeah. And so like they're locusts, basically human. Yeah, they're locusts. Yeah, there you go. So humans have, we need to either fight or we're going to loot. We're going to literally all die. Yeah. And then
this too, or you have to say, it was like when the guy's like, "Yo, is this glass bulletproof?"
Yeah, that was like
yeah, and then like all 4 or 5 of them just like line up and just like bam, bam, just like light that alien up. And then the major, who's been like the commanding officer of the base, that's Adam Baldwin. You might know him from like Full Metal Jacket, or what I really know him from as Firefly and Serenity. He's a big character in that. This is where he goes over, and then he just like, after the alien's on the ground, he goes over and is like, nah, you really gotta die. Like puts his execution style as the alien. I'm like, hell yeah, Adam Baldwin, aka Major, whatever your name is.
Yeah, and then so after this encounter, like the president, after they kill the LA president, I saw what they want. They're locusts. They're going to destroy the planet. So then he calls for them to nuke the alien ships. Like, that's the only way. And so David, like, as this is happening, Dave, like you said earlier, Connie had a moment with David's dad, Julius, about David literally was like racing to DC to save her. Yeah. Obviously most of the planet and stuff like that, but it was like his main focus was her, right? So obviously there's still love there. And then David and Connie have a moment in the kitchen where it's just like, I think it's pushing this idea that I think she wanted him to be more, because he was like, since he had so much potential, but like he was very much like, he's stuck in his way. I mean, he's very much like I want to say opinionated, but he's very like his morals, like he stands on. Obviously, we've seen that with the environmental stuff and all those different things. Like, he doesn't smoke, so it's just like, I think he's just very focused on it. Like, he's unwavering in his devotions to things.
And he was happy.
But they definitely.
He was happy with the simple things. Like, he was happy with his job. It's what he wanted to do. And then he found special, what he really loved, was his relationship with Connie. And Connie wanted a little bit more. It's in like her employment and job. So it was just kind of like bad timing a little bit almost. But they do say like they never stopped loving each other.
Yes.
Which was nice. Yeah.
And then Hiller, Captain Hiller, like, he's just, even though he knows that El Toro and LA have been destroyed, he was like, I can't just stay here. I need to go. I at least need to go see for myself. And so he steals he goes to steal a helicopter, and the guy tries to stop it, and he was just like, do you really want to shoot me, my man? Yeah. And then the guy's like, no, obviously he just puts the gun down, and then Will Smith goes, just tell him I'll hit you. And then the guy looks like, really? Yeah.
The dude's huge. Like, the dude's exactly. He's like twice the size of Will Smith, and like big muscular dude. So like, tell him I hit you, and the guy's like, really? They're gonna believe that.
Once again, like you said, I think the movie did fine, even though there's a certain severity to the situation. I mean, this was global destruction, but it was just like they did find their ways to put in the humor in there, which was. it didn't take you out of the moment. It was very like real, right? And then we talked about this like with Ant-Man, a lot of the Marvel films, like they won't let you sit in an emotional moment. They
Yeah.
need to like append some comedy on the end of it, so you can't even live in that moment. But I think this movie does it well, where it's just like we need that comedy. Like this is serious as hell, like and it did it very well. So like, Hiller goes off to find Jasmine. So he goes to El Toro, and she has like but once again, so much is happening. But like, Jasmine has collected her survivors, and they've headed back to El Toro because it's the base. She has her son, the dog, a few other people, and she has the first lady with them, and they have a common conversation. And this is what you were saying earlier when the first lady asked what Jasmine does, and she says she was a dancer, and she says, "Oh, ballet." And it was like, "No, no, no."
Exotic. Yeah. And then this is a great scene too because I don't. It's just because the first lady's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then Jasmine's like, "Sorry for what? I love what I do, and it's great money, and it helps make sure I can raise my kid." I'm like, "Hell yeah, Jasmine!" Like Jasmine's tough as nails, and she doesn't get nearly as much screen time, but the woman is tough as nails of like finding survivors on her own, doing all her shit, and yeah. And she's hot, so like, hey, life is good.
Keep it in your shirt, guy. But yeah, so they're back in El Toro, and Hiller arrives in a helicopter, and he finds them. They have their moment because obviously, like you said, he just thought his best friend died, half of his whole squadron. There it is. His whole squadron died against the aliens. And so he felt like he had lost everything. So it was like this was a nice moment for him to like find the woman he loves and everything like that. So he takes Jasmine's team or whoever she was able to collect. He takes them back to the base, and the president is happy because they found his wife, but sadly she's suffering from internal bleeding because of the fact that she wasn't able to get the proper help earlier. And so they have a sweet moment, and then the daughter has another sweet moment with her mom before she passes away.
Yeah.
And then
and it was a great callback too to like the beginning of the relationship when the Pullman is like, "Hey, the doctor says you're going to be fine," and his wife's like, "Liar," and you're just like, "Oh, what like full circle on this relationship. They truly love and know each other, and it's tragic because of that. And you can feel so much more for this guy because of that little thing they did in the beginning for later. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after that happens, David realizes that he mentions his dad says something about you're gonna get sick.
Yeah. You're gonna catch a cold on.
And then he kind of realizes that he can use the same way that the aliens use the satellites to find out about us. He can reverse that and able to upload a virus. I think this is where the movie got like, okay, really? I don't think the aliens are the same operating system, but whatever, we'll allow it.
Linux, man, everyone uses Linux at this point.
Goddamn Windows, but so he realized that he can upload a virus to bring down the shield because that's why they can't attack any of the ships because there's that shield. But if they go up to the mothership because they have a ship from the early crash in the 60s, if they go up, upload the virus into the mothership, it will bring the shields down for the other ships and they can take them out. And so Captain Hiller volunteers to fly the ship since he's seen them in action. And then then the U.S. Because this is what you was talking about, the Secretary of Defense. He was like, we don't have the manpower or anything like that, and it was just like, well, we can use the rest of the world. So they send out using Morse code. They send out messages to the other nations like, this is what we're gonna do. We have to fight back. If we don't fight back, they're going to kill us all. And this is where you get that world unity.
Yeah.
And so like they rally different forces. They're recruiting pilots, and this is where you get Russell saying that he was a pilot in Vietnam, and he got abducted by aliens, so he liked to get them back.
He was like, I'm ready for payback. I won't let you down. Yeah.
And then right before Hiller and Jasmine get married, because he was like he wanted to do it. Obviously, we saw that earlier, but he wanted to do it before. But now he has his chance because he may not come back from this mission, and that was a very sweet moment. And it also kind of solidified David and Connie's relationship as well. Like they realized they love one another, And this is where, as they get ready, this is where you get President Whitmore's speech. I don't know. I don't know word for word, but I think what the biggest part was just the fact that it was like this. Obviously, the America celebrates Independence Day. It's not a global thing, but this Independence Day is not about America. It is about our independence, like our fight for survival.
Yeah.
Um,
A fight
so
against
I,
annihilation. What a good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it went back to talking about how this movie does come full circle. It, like, not foreshadowing, but it puts things early on, and it builds, it develops throughout the film. So it was just saying how, like, he was very. It seemed very the public thought he was very weak, or like kind of something like that. But it was just like this is the president that they had wanted, right?
Yeah.
Being able to rally people, like you were a fighter pilot, you were a natural leader, like, so now we get to see that from him. And also, he decides that since he was a fighter pilot in the Gulf War, that he doesn't want to be on the ground. He doesn't want to be in a command center. He wants to be up there with the other men fighting.
Pretty risky,
And so,
considering literally the entire cabinet and vice president's dead as well. But hey,
I mean, if he loses, what's the point of the presidency?
true, yeah.
The government is shut down. You think I'm paying taxes now? Get out of my face. And so we get the Hiller, Captain Hiller and David get in the ship, and they go up into space. And you get obviously right before they go, like, Hiller gets 2 more cigars. I think that's his his good luck charm or something like that. So he always smokes cigars at the conclusion of one of his missions. So he gets 2 cigars for him and David, and he was like, "This is our victory."
Yep. Fat lady. It's not over till fat lady sings. Yeah.
And so they go up into space. They encounter the mothership, and they get kind of drawn in. The Air Force fly to one of the ships that's close to the air base. But as they're doing this, they realize that I think the aliens also realize that they're mounting an attack. So that ship is coming to destroy the air base. And so now you get this clock, because of the fact that they realize that with the way they were able to destroy cities during the first attack, like within 36 hours, the entire world could be annihilated. So like now there's
every major city. Yeah.
Yeah, they can. Now there's this ticking clock, and so a lot of stuff happens super fast, but it's all great. So David and Hiller get into the mothership, and you see, like, it is like this. They have an army, like they could literally take over the entire, like, doing a full scale invasion, and so. They get into the mothership. He's able to upload the virus, and then the president shoots a missile at the warship, but the shield is still up. He tries again. It's down. So not just the Air Force, but every nation that's there to help goes to attack the warship. But then the drone ships come out, and there's a bunch of dogfighting and stuff like that. And then in the mothership, they're trying to leave, but they kind of get stuck. So now it's just like, shit, what do we do?
Yeah.
And so they
because there's like a blast door protecting them, or like so that the aliens can't see, but they're still like trying to get out, and the alien's like, "Yo, something's going on here." So it forcibly opens the door. So then they go and hide in the back, and they're like, "Well, we're not going to get out of here now, I guess." So there's only one thing we can do. They kind of prepare to sacrifice themselves, and this is why this movie makes smoking cigars look so cool. It does. This movie makes smoking cigars look so
well, honestly, it was just the scene of Will Smith after the crash, and like him.
That was great. Them smoking the cigars together in the alien ship in there when they're just like, well, I guess we're going to die, so let's light up the cigars now. They look cool there. There's another scene later where they look cool with cigars. I'm like, damn, they look like I enjoy a good cigar every now and then, and I'm like, that's why. All right.
But yeah, so This is happening simultaneously. So they realize that the warship over Area 51 is about to fire. So they need to take out their main weapon before it fires.
Yeah. Well, because the
The
missiles on
president
the
gets
outside aren't working. So like they're shooting it on the missiles on the outside, but like okay, there's too much armor on the outside of the ship as well.
yeah.
But yeah, as you said, with that weapon opening, all of a sudden now we can kind of get to the innards of the ship a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so the president and the two ships are heading towards it. One ship gets shot down. The president gets an open shot, but he misses. The next guy has more missiles, but he gets shot down. So it's like now we don't have anything. But luckily, then we get Russell and his redemption. And like I said, I think it was all leading to this moment, right? Like obviously, like his whole story was leading to him, his heroic ending. But it was just like I said. All I would have needed, if you just seen him drunk, like once again, take his kids all the way out, like the actors,
Yeah.
take them all out. You just see him drunk, and then like right before he sacrifices himself, he looks at the picture, and it would have given you the same exact story. It would have cut out like 20 minutes because it was like weird scenes with like his son and his daughter, like literally just trying to hook up with any dude
Yeah,
that
like,
was there.
his daughter was trying to like, well, this like young teenager was trying to be like, you don't want to die a virgin, right? And the other son's like, dude, get the fuck out, what the fuck, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, that was a weird scene.
It was like all that could have been cut out, right? Because it was like his kids really didn't mean. I get why they were there, right? It's building, it's pulling at your heartstrings. It just didn't matter so much. But it was like, so Russell sacrifices. He crashes into the ship, and he goes once again talking about the iconic lines. He was like, "Hey boys, I'm back."
I'm back. Oh man, that Randy Quaid, I'm back. That's the third
Yeah.
scene I was talking about of like lives
Okay.
rent free in my brain. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so he crashes into the warship, and it all explodes. And as he's doing that on Earth, up in the mothership, like you said, David and Hiller realize that there's no way for them to get out of this, and so they come out from hiding. They launch this nuclear missile that they had in their cargo. They launch it, and then they told them it doesn't explode on impact. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So they break out of the hold that the mothership has them in,
Like, look,
and
they
they
thought
just
they were gonna die. Luckily, it breaks out,
Yeah.
and then Will Smith is just like, "The fat lady hasn't sung yet," and Goldblum's like, "Why are you obsessed with fat lady? Stop being obsessed with fat lady."
The comedy between it was funny. It was like something earlier. Obviously, I don't want to jump back, but it was just like when they first started. Will Smith, like, instead of going forward, he goes backwards, and he goes oops, and it was like oops, and then like David did something. And when they were in the mothership, and he goes, "Oops!" and Will Smith goes, "We need to talk about our communication."
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, them together was great. Yeah.
yeah. So they are able to break free. The fat lady hasn't sung yet, so they narrowly escape the mothership. The nuke goes off, destroying the mothership.
Whole thing.
And then they get blasted back to Earth. The president lands on lands back at the base, and he was like, "Now we know how to destroy them," which was funny to me because it was just like, so somebody has to sacrifice themselves. I don't think
the same thought. Every single thought, just crash a ship in there with missiles. Yes.
it's like there has to be another way. Let's.
Yeah. Oh, well, and the reason Randy had to sacrifice himself is because his missile got jammed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why. So I think if you shoot a missile, you might be okay. But if not, just crash your ship up in there.
And so now we get them telling the other nations how to destroy the warships that are hovering over their cities. And then they mention the general mentions that they lost contact with David and Hiller after the mothership was destroyed, and they get really sad. But then then you see that they've crash landed somewhere in the desert. And this is talking about like they look so cool smoking cigars, or you see all of the
both wearing like the pilot gear, smoking cigars with their sunglasses on and everything. Like, damn, they look cool.
And then his David's dad goes, "So smoking is cool now?" He was like, I think I can get used to this."
Yeah, exactly.
And then Will Smith has a moment with his now his wife and his wife's son, and he goes, "I told you there'd be fireworks." And this was another green screen moment, but it was just like the ship is crash landing in the desert, and they just look at it, and then into the movie.
Yeah, and with this too, you see like a bunch of other. You see like I think Africa, Well, yeah. So I guess more like I don't know which country in Africa, but there's like
Yeah, there's Africa, India, something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
and then there was Egypt, and then there was Australia, and you see like people who are like running up to see like the destruction of all the other ships, showing that
Hmm.
the Earth has won. And how did the Earth win? Because the USA showed them the way. Oh, I'm sorry, propaganda. Anyway, no, but but no, yeah, as Mike said, that is the movie. So thank you everyone so much for listening to our review of Independence Day. What we always like to do at the end is revisit our original review and see if we want to change it. So Mike, you gave it a 4 out of 5. What do you think?
Still 4.
Yeah,
Loved it.
yeah,
Like I said, I think some of Randy Quaid's backstory was like it's just his kids to me were unnecessary. Like they didn't really add anything.
hmm
I understand his redemption arc, but it was just like he didn't need exterior characters for that arc.
yeah,
Once again, that picture could have done it
yeah,
just as much justice. But other than that, that was really my only gripe with it. I think that would have taken, since the runtime seemed unnecessary, I think that would have taken any scenes with his kids would have taken the runtime out that I needed for it to be the perfect length. So, but definitely still a 4 out of 5.
yeah. And I'm sticking with my 4 as well. Yeah, and I'm even yeah. Well, okay. So again, the bias could have come back because I was like, oh, maybe a 3.5. I don't know, man. It's a 4. It's Independence Day, man. You got to watch this movie. It's a great movie. It's peak '90s action adventure. It's great. So watch Independence Day. So again, thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to reach out to us, the Two Meddling Kids, you can find us at Two Meddling Kids at Twitter and on Twitter and Instagram. And if you'd like to email us, it's twomeddlingkids@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from y'all. Mike, if they'd like to, how can they reach out to you, sir?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Excellent. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77. And then for all of my comics and writing, I am at hunt.comics. So again, thank you so much for listening, everybody. And we'll be back next week with a new movie. See you soon.
Bye.
Funky dokey 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 dokey. Yeah.